First Church of Monson. My name is Dan Newberry, for those that don't know that, and maybe after today you'll want to forget it. We'll wait and see. We say and we live and we mean that no matter who you are or where you are in life's journey, you are welcome here. This is not just a saying, a nice little tagline, but we're working very hard to make it a reality for all of us. I don't have any special announcements for myself, or you'll find them in the bulletin, but I understand we have some for Suzanne has got an announcement.
As many of you know, after church today, we could use anyone's help in greening the sanctuary. There are jobs for just about everybody. Gary Harris is going to be in charge of tops of the trees, but there's jobs for many people. Judy White does the organ rail. Many of you will be able to help with a lot of different jobs. What I want to also thank are the people behind the scenes, because as you know, our broadcast center was up here until this Sunday. For the last year and a half, there's been a broadcast center. So Doug Kelly built a platform for the balcony so that the table could go up there. Cindy DeCellier, who is up there now, and Bill Palmer were here this week with Doug. Bill ran wires up there. Cindy got everything working. So that's behind the scenes. And since none of us really are very young, Chris Young and his two boys brought down everything from the Christmas tree closet. It's in the narthex, so all we have to do is bring it forward rather than go up and down the stairs many, many times to do that. So please join us right after service, and we'll get started. Thank you.
I'm here to let you know about the concert and dinner on December 4th. It's been widely advertised in the bulletin. The menu is here. Maybe you would want to refrain from eating between Thanksgiving and the following Saturday, because it's really going to be a great dinner. But I do want to talk about the concert. The concert is underwritten by the Monson Cultural Council. And David Neal is the director of the Fanfare Brass. And he asked our organist to participate this year. So Kyle has arranged a beautiful program for that evening. There are 3 sections: Advent, Christmas, and Epiphany. There'll be major pieces by major composers, seasonal favorites too, Sleigh Ride and, I've forgotten the other one, Sleigh Ride and Jingle Bells. And it's going to be a really wonderful concert, and it's only $5 at the door. And it's very appropriate for you to bring young people to come to the concert. The brass is French horn, trombone, and trumpet. And it'll be a wonderful, wonderful concert, and it's only $5 at the door. The dinner's a little more expensive, but we hope you will come. Your dinner ticket includes the concert. And Gail Pelletier will be selling the tickets in Fellowship Hall. We're about halfway sold out to the dinner, so be sure to get your tickets today if you plan to come. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm just giving you an update on stewardship. Lori Clark, if anybody who doesn't know me. So far, last week was Stewardship Sunday, and so far we have 24 pledges equaling $47,000. So maybe that's about halfway of what we had last year at this point in time. It's not too late to put in a pledge. The pledge box is still there. There are still some pledge cards in front of it if you need one. If you need to fill out a new online pledging form, we can have those available for you, or just let me know and I can get one to you. Even if you do pledge online, please fill out a pledge card so that we know how much money we have to manage our budget. Thank you.
You may have noticed that, Elisa, I'm sorry, I didn't see you over there. Go ahead.
Good morning. I'm Lisa Borland. I've been working on the project for the Memorial Garden, and as some of you may have noticed, there's been some activity over the weekend as you were coming in. We worked really hard yesterday, and with the help of James Bailey and C.R. Levesque, they helped us get the granite placed, level, ready to start installing the bell. So that was huge. I'll have to tell you later the list of people that have stepped up to help this church, but it just makes me feel really great that we have so many people in this community willing to help us. My boyfriend, Mitch Shuda, he'll be out there working. I just want you to know he has been working on this project since it started in June, and my son will be out there as well. We are constructing a pillar that is going to be 5 feet tall, 20 inches in diameter of concrete. It has to be very well supported, and when it hardens, the bell will be lowered over that. That will support it from the bottom as well as the top, because as you know, the whole top was broken and had to be welded back together. So big doings out there. If you're going by, say hi, but it should be hopefully done in a couple of weeks. Say a prayer, and I'll keep you posted.
I just wanted to mention, I don't know if you noticed the difference, but in the past few weeks, people have been coming up after church saying it's frustrating to be in church and not here. So if you can't hear today, raise your hand, and I will stop, and we will make sure that you're not wasting your time coming in here to complain after church that we can't hear. So if you noticed this morning, we've worked on the sound system. Hopefully it's louder, it's clearer, and everybody can hear. But this is your church, and we need to know if we have to do something. I'm a deacon here, and one of the goals we have in the upcoming year is to take the complaints out of the parking lot and get them into the church. Okay? So we'll start the service now. Please stand and join me for the call to worship. Sing praises to the Lord, for God has done gloriously. Shout aloud and sing for joy. Shout aloud and sing for joy.
From the tiniest creatures to the greatest herds.
Shout aloud and sing for joy.
In the midst of our joys and sorrows.
Shout aloud and sing for joy as we come to worship the God of all creation.
Praise its will to make known.
the earthquake and the silence. Quiet in us any voice but your own, that by the power of the Holy Spirit we might hear, and in hearing we might believe, and in believing we might act, making way for your new creation. Amen. time where we raise up our concerns and prayers. I have two this morning that were given to me for Dennis, who is suffering from memory loss, and for Diane, who is battling with cancer. Let God put their healing hands on them. Lord, be with us as we struggle to survive this pandemic. Give us the strength to hang on as we come out of these terrible times. We have learned that we do not do well when we are left alone. We are like lambs that are separated from the flock. We have lost the strength of faith that comes from not being surrounded by our church family. God, help us to deal with mental depression, anxiety, fear, and confusion that is affecting more people today than ever before. We have become feral Christians. Lack of trust, fear, anxiety, not knowing what is happening or going to happen have caused us to forget who we are. Misinformation. Is that really true? Will I glow in the dark if I get vaccinated? Forgive our sudden burst of anger fueled by this frustration. Who have we become? When this started, we thought that would only be for 2 weeks. Some of us demanded that the church stay open, and nothing had to change. COVID canceled these ideals. Now that we are coming out of this and our lives are slowly gaining some normalcy, grant us the ability to come back to the flock. Imagine that little lamb when it finally sees its mother and the rest of its sheep. The fear is gone. Comfort and safety now surround him. Let us remember and experience the greatest gift you have given us, our faith, as we pray the prayer he taught us. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. Now is the time that we ask you to open up your hearts and to contribute to keep this church a living, ongoing entity in this community and for our faith. Our morning offering will now be received. raise these gifts that you have given us so we can continue to do your work. Amen.
This morning's reading comes from the Gospel of John, chapter 18, verses 33 through 37. Then Pilate entered the headquarters again, summoned Jesus, and asked him, "Are you the king of the Jews?" Jesus answered, "Do you ask this on your own, or do others tell you about me?" Pilate replied, "I am not a Jew, am I? Your own nation and the chief priests have handed you over to me. What have you done?" Jesus answered, "My kingdom is not from this world. If my kingdom were from this world, my followers would be fighting to keep me from being handed over to the Jews. But as it is, my kingdom is not from here." Pilate asked him, "So you are a king?" Jesus answered, "You say that I am a king. For this I was born, and for this I came into the world, to testify to the truth. Everyone who belongs to the truth listens to my voice." So ends the reading.
Today, my sermon is titled "The Confession epiphany, and a challenge. Today I stand before you to make a confession. Very difficult for me to accept, but it had to be done. I have fought it for years, and I just can't deny it any longer. I am old. There, I have said it, and now you all know the dilemma and drama I've been dealing with as this has become a painful reality in my life. Being in my 70s, I look back at my life and realize what a glorious time it was to grow up in. The baby boomers are what we are called. When I was born in 1949, it was a time in this country where we were thankful for the victory of World War II. After World War II, many American men and women came back home to see if they could put their life back together. The horrors of a massive world war and the expressed evil of Adolf Hitler pushed many young American men and women to seek out something of a deeper, meaningful life. When they came back home, they not only wanted to build their families and their first home, but they also wanted to defeat evil. Their passion for a spiritual life was high. Therefore, churches in the United States began to thrive and explode. Sunday school began to grow along with new congregations. The United States saw a surge in new church starts in the 1940s and the 1950s. These new congregations were not only started for the war vets, but they were also created to provide a place for the baby boom that was taking place. The desire for a new life was pouring over into churches. Passion was driving force behind all that was happening. That type of emotion, unfortunately, is not being seen in many congregations today. It's ironic, the latest technology I remember at the time was a 9-inch Dumont black and white TV that broadcasted a limited number of hours a day. Radio and newspapers were still a main source of information and news. The TV stations signed off at night with the national anthem and pictures of the American flag waving. Late night TV was a test pattern and a constant tone. Boy, things then really started changing. Saturday night was bath night to be clean for church. Church is where we all got dressed in our Sunday best. That's where that came from. I will never forget the wool pants I had to wear. I've mentioned that in some of the other times I've preached. It took years before I could convince my mother that I was allergic to the wool. The church was packed. Sunday school was full in all the grades. We learned about Jesus and God, how important our faith was to us. I learned the books of the Bible and got my first personal Bible. 1959 in January, I stood in front of the church and recited the books of the Bible, and I have had this Bible since then. You open it up, it's like it's brand new because it's never been used much, but it's mine. There were bake sales. I don't know if you remember those. Cakewalks, church bazaars. It was fun, other than having to wear the wool pants. Outside of church, there were nickel candy bars that rivaled the king-size $1.50 bars that we have today. My first radio was a salmon-colored Toshiba 6-transistor that ran on a 9-volt battery. It lasted about 2 hours before it died. Boy, AM radio was the best. Not. Elvis appeared on the Ed Sullivan Show, but was only viewed from the waist up, as his hips were considered pornographic. We moved to West Springfield in 1960 and started attending the Congregational church there. It's a beautiful church, and many attended every Sunday. The youth group had at least 75 kids and became the place to be with your friends. I will never forget the retreats, hay rides, work days for Christ, where we would divide up into teams and do chores for families in need. It was a time of feeling good and enjoying being associated with the church. But sadly, this would not last, as the family dynamic was changing and kids began revolting against authority and parents. Mothers started working to make ends meet. The old family ways were slowly disappearing. Latchkey kids became a reality. Technology was improving by leaps and bounds. TV was now in color, and many channels broadcast 24 hours a day. News was now instantly available. The 60s, to me, was the decade that changed us and how we started becoming on what we are today. President Kennedy was assassinated in 1963. The Vietnam War started, and for the first time, draft-age men refused to accept this, and protests started. Bobby Kennedy was assassinated. Martin Luther King was assassinated. Racial tensions erupted, and supposedly we were ending the segregation that had plagued us since the Civil War. Sadly, we are still experiencing this 60 years later. Woodstock, pot, LSD, peace, love was the rage of the young. The boomers really embraced the new technology and lifestyles. I can remember my father telling me that the Beatles were ruining the country. On the way to school, he turned up an orchestra version of Hey Jude and told me how now that is what music is supposed to sound like. I couldn't wait to tell him that he was praising a Beatles song. Kids stopped going to church, and attendance all over was dropping. Trying to keep the old traditions was encountering pushback. For the first time, kids en masse revolted against their parents' ideals and formal religion. After high school, I continued to attend church, but I have to admit my attendance was spotty as life got in the way. Faith was still there and never died, but church was becoming different. When I went to church, I was confronted with tradition. And this is the way we do things, with a strong resistance against change. Later on in my religious background, I was president of a Lutheran church that had 90% of its members that were associated with Westover Air Force Base. When the base closed, we were faced with decreasing attendance, membership, and financial issues. I called a special congregational meeting, and after our attendance one Sunday was 10. I wanted to figure out what we needed to do to try and reverse this trend in our church. The building was a maintenance nightmare as well. I was shocked by the response I got from the members in attendance at that meeting. Why don't you concentrate on the important things? Have you seen how the younger, people are coming dressed to church? We need to enforce a decent dress code. When it was suggested we sing different hymns, the response was, we always sing the same hymns, period. Then the kicker for me is they voted not to pay the minister because we had to buy candles. The feeling was, you cannot have church without candles. The minister was sitting there in that meeting. Rather embarrassing. Other young members and I were constantly shot down with, we are not changing. This is how we have always done it. I will never forget the Sunday when a young family came to church. I was so happy to see new faces. A few minutes before the service was to begin, one of the elderly matriarchs, who could spout the Bible like anybody, she knew, I think she had it memorized, came walking up, stood by the pew where the family was sitting, and just stared at them. And they looked like, what's going on here? She stared at them. She took her cane and said, get out of my pew now! Get up and get out of my pew! I was really proud of that moment. Sadly, we never saw that family again. I haven't quite figured out why. Fast forward to today and where we are as a church. When I started coming to this church, Judy and I talked about our faith, and we both agreed we would just come to church on Sunday, sit in the front, go home, make our pledge. Sound familiar to anybody out there? I didn't know anyone, but Judy had a history with the church and knew many of the people there. I was clueless. Name tags were suggested and adopted, and it made learning new faces for me as well as other newbies easier. Are you wearing yours? I really thought that was a great idea. Now I'm an old-timer. I forget mine all the time. Can't understand why new people at church look at me like, who the hell are you? We have had our ups and downs. Back then when I came to the church, I was young. I was in my 50s. Yes, that is now young, now that I'm in my 70s. We have had our ups and downs with finances, watching membership decline. But before COVID, we were turning the corner, and the church family was growing, and we were prospering in our missions and fellowship. We had some issues with strong personalities trying to take over and have their own way, as can happen with all congregations. And I have to say, in looking back, I am embarrassed at how some of the congregation acted in some of these instances. And I offer my apologies to anyone that was offended by that. Then COVID hit us, and hit us hard. As I said in my prayer, Christians do not do well when left alone for too long. One of my sayings I developed over the years became very close to becoming a reality. The hardest place to find a Christian is in church on Sunday morning. Disagreements became the norm. Tempers flared. People left. Our pastor resigned and left for another church. Can it get any worse? I actually started looking up, is this church dying, on the internet, and found some scary similarities to what our church seemed to be going through. I want to share some of the things I found. See if you can identify with some of them. I stole some things off the internet. The following were taken from something posted by Carrie Newwolf. If your church is dying, the passion of key leaders is waning. It is often so easy to come by in your first years of leadership, but hard to sustain for a lifetime. Yet passion is so vital to leadership because the passion of a church will rarely exceed the passion of its leaders. Innovation is now rare. In the early days, most churches innovated. We had to. But as churches grew larger and more effective, it's easy to let innovation wane. Do this, and the innovators will eventually leave your church, having grown bored. They'll throw their energy behind a church that will experiment. Down the road, they will leave you in a place where even if you want to innovate, you can't innovate because all the idea people have abandoned ship. When was the last time you did something truly new? If you can't answer that question, beware. This one I like. Management is replacing leadership. The trap here is that once you have started managing, you may stop building anything of value. Instead, you simply manage what you've already built. If all you do is manage what you've already built, it's likely that your church is dying. And you won't have much left to manage in the future. The key is to manage well, but keep leading, keep innovating, keep changing, keep experimenting, and keep figuring out new ways to accomplish your missions. Maintenance is beginning to trump mission. The maintenance mode, maintaining the organization they've built, has become more important than the mission that got them started. In fact, when you drill down, very few can articulate or agree what the mission is. They just agree that they need to maintain what they've got. As long as the mission is central, especially in the church, you will have a bright future. When maintenance begins to trump mission, the end is near. Your church has become fixated on being your church. Effective churches get noticed, especially these days when they're rarer than before. How you respond when you receive attention is critical. You criticize younger, upstart leaders. Every leader is a young leader at some point. Young leaders bring innovation, ideas, and strategies to the table. In fact, they likely got your church where it is today, which is amazing. When you find yourself sitting around a table criticizing the ideas of young leaders, get nervous. Someone used to dismiss you, and look what happened to them. Your relationship with God has gone flat. Every leader has ups and downs in their leadership with God. I do. You do. Over a prolonged period of time, you cannot let your personal relationship with God go flat. Yet it does for so many. Another article I really liked had the following. There are a few things as sad as watching a once great church grow old, become irrelevant, and slowly die. Here's what I've noticed many of these churches, at a pivotal point, a decision was made to continue doing ministry the way they have always have, rather than alter their approach to reach a changing community or the next generation. I love the old timers. Isn't it nice seeing people in coats and ties and not disrespecting God by wearing jeans and shorts? Can you believe that other church is stealing all our young people? Isn't it great having all this room in the pews to spread out? I love singing all 7 verses. Remember the good old days? And this one's my favorite. We just formed a committee on committees. Boy, this is depressing. Really depressing. God slapped me upside the head. The epiphany. Hell no, we're not dying. We're in transition. All of the things that have happened are hidden blessings for us to learn from and to move on. We have had a gay pastor and started living what we always said, that no matter who you are or where you are in life's journey, you are welcome here. We are officially making ONA not just a thought, but a part of our mission statement. We have a young and energetic Sunday school team in David and Aaron. I'm sorry they're not here today to hear this. Their energy is infectious in a positive way. The programs they have presented to us were awesome and shocking. That those are our kids doing that? The kids love being here again. Music is awesome and open to exploring new things to try. We have made the difficult transition during COVID to keep our message available to all people by broadcasting our services, so all can share with us every Sunday. They have done a great job of tackling that challenge. Breakfast is coming back. Hopefully fundraisers will soon follow. We hope the people who do this will be successful. We have seen that we do not do well when we are left out on our own for too long. They should reach out to people. We have an energetic interim search committee that has torn off the Band-Aid and exposed what we have done incorrectly and forged a new path for looking for an interim pastor and guidelines for the settled pastor. We will be forming a settled pastor search committee. I hope they do a good job. The challenge. If you notice in the last section, I said, we will be forming a settled pastor search committee. I hope they do a good job. I am challenging you to change they and them into I and we. I am a deacon here. I know, Mom, you're still shaking your head. I need all of you to ask yourself, why can't you be one too? Instead of talking about things you don't like in the parking lot after service, bring them to a meaningful place for resolution and change if necessary. You are the leadership of this church. That is what makes us different and great as we, the congregation, make the church. Not a pope or a bishop, but you, the congregation. If we are dying, then that means regardless of age, you are dying. I challenge you to live. Ignite the passion. Fight for your faith. Get involved. We need deacons, committee members, volunteers, adult education programs. We need to fill the pews and rejoin the flock to gain the safety and strength the flock provides once again. We need someone to update name tags and make sure people wear them. Reach out and invite those you know to come join us, even if they have left recently. The future of our church starts with the person that is looking back at you in the mirror. God just slapped you all upside the helmet. See you next Sunday. I borrowed the meat of this benediction from Pastor Joe Shearer. As we go forward this week and into the holiday season, may the Lord bless you and keep you. May he make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the eyes of your heart be open to all the blessings which surround you. May this awareness produce a harvest of generosity in your spirit. May thankfulness rise up within you, not just during this short season, but day after day. From the early morning watch until you retire for the night, may your prayers reflect gratitude, while also acknowledging the needs of others whose situations are so drastically different. May the thoughts of Jesus fill your mind, and thanksgiving be your response. Go in peace.